They're calling him a terrorist, but the Supreme Court ruled 9-0. So why is Kristi Noem still refusing to bring him back? Watch this, because this exchange just exposed everything.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Secretary, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And I was glad to see in your recent testimony that you reaffirmed your obligations to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And I understand you had an exchange with Senator Murphy on the Abrego Garcia case. And so I'm just going to put the question directly to you. Are you or DHS doing anything to comply with the 9-0 Supreme Court order to facilitate his return to the United States? Just yes or no.
This administration is following all federal court orders.
Madam Secretary, this is a simple question.
It's the president's prerogative on conversations that happen with the president of El Salvador.
I asked a simple question. I would, we have a limited amount of time. I just asked you, Madam Secretary, whether or not you or the Department of Homeland Security are taking any action to facilitate the 9-0 Supreme Court decision to facilitate his return. This is a very simple question. Are you taking any action to facilitate his return, or are you not?
This administration is following and complying with all federal court orders to make sure that we.
So you are because the court ordered that you facilitate his return. So you are facilitating his return.
Sir, Senator, thank you for the question. But what I would tell you is that we are following court orders, and that your advocacy for a known terrorist is alarming to me.
Madam Secretary,
it's alarming to me because he's a human smuggler.
Madam Secretary, I'm going to have to reclaim it.
A terrorist, and he's not a U.S. citizen. He's a citizen of El Salvador, and he's home. If he were to come back here,
Secretary,
we would take him immediately.
All right, I'm going to have to, Madam Secretary, you should know a couple facts then, which is, number one, in 2019, the immigration court said that he should not be returned to El Salvador because it would put his life in danger. The Trump administration at the time did not appeal that decision. After that, he got a work permit and was working legally in the United States of America. This is also why the district court and the appellate court and the Supreme Court have ruled as they have. I suggest that rather than make these statements here, that you and the Trump administration make them in court under oath, because despite what you just said, the federal district court, whose judge is hearing this case right now, said, and I'm quoting, that the administration has provided no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any other terrorist activity. I'm not vouching for the man. I'm vouching for his due process rights.
Sir. No,
Madam Secretary, with respect.
I would suggest that you defend and stand alongside the victims of illegal crime.
This is political rhetoric.
Citizens who live here and are United States Americans. I would suggest you advocate for them as hard as you do.
Madam Secretary, I know you're doing a political speech here. I get it. I'm asking questions of law. No, you're just spewing rhetoric.
I truly believe this.
You're spewing rhetoric. Let me ask you this. Do you agree with Justice Scalia in the Supreme Court opinion in Reno v. Flores that, I'm quoting, "It is well established that the Fifth Amendment entitles aliens to due process of law in deportation proceedings." End of quote.
Sir, we are utilizing every due process tool that this Congress has afforded us. The Congress decides what due process is appropriate for every situation. Expedited removal is a due process that you have afforded us that we are utilizing. The Alien Enemies Act.
I'm going to reclaim my time, Madam Secretary.
So we are giving due process and using the tools that this Congress has given us.
This is really, I'm asking sort of simple questions of law. And simple questions like, are you complying with a 9-0 Supreme Court decision? And you seem to think that's some kind of trick question. Let me ask you this. You were down at CCOT in El Salvador, and you said, and that, I'm quoting, "It is one of the tools in the toolkit that we will use." And it's well known that the Trump administration is paying the government of El Salvador to keep these individuals, including those who the U.S. courts have determined were illegally taken out of the country in violation of their due process rights. Have you seen the grant document between the United States and the government of El Salvador with respect to the CCOT?
It's important that everybody knows the consequences of what happens for their actions in this country. When you break the law and you're a member of a foreign terrorist organization,
I asked you a question. Have you seen the document? This is not hard.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what are the provisions of the document? So do you know what entities in El Salvador are receiving the funds?
I'm sure you can see this document as well and have looked at it for evaluation.
I'm glad you raised that, Madam Secretary, because I sent you a letter along with many of my colleagues here on April 8th asking for, among other things, that document. Will you respond to the letter that we sent?
I will respond to your letter.
Thank you. Can I get some sense of when?
We will take a look at it. I don't remember seeing your letter yet, but I will certainly take a look at it.
Well, it's been there over a month.
The senator's time has expired.
Madam Chair.
Senator Kennedy.
Madam Chair,
Madam Secretary.
Secretary, I have some additional questions.
No, sir, that's up to you to manage that time. Senator Kennedy.
Madam Secretary.
I need a little help from a chair that respects the members of the
Madam
committee. I'm sorry,
Secretary.
Madam Chair. This is
You pretty
What happened in this exchange between Senator Chris Van Hollen and Kristi Noem wasn't just tense, it was revealing. Van Hollen wasn't defending Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a person. He said that plainly. What he was defending was something far more fundamental: the rule of law, due process, and whether Supreme Court rulings still mean. The facts are not in dispute. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that the administration must facilitate Abrego Garcia's return. Not 5-4, not a partisan split. 9 justices, including Trump appointees, unanimously agreed that his removal violated due process. That should have ended the debate. Instead, Noem danced around a yes or no question, repeatedly refusing to say whether DHS is actually doing anything to comply with the order. Then came the deflection. When pressed, Noem pivoted to labeling Abrego Garcia a known terrorist and accused Van Hollen of advocating for him. That accusation collapsed almost immediately. Federal courts have found no evidence linking him to MS-13 or any terrorist organization. An immigration judge ruled years ago that sending him back to El Salvador would endanger his life. The Trump administration didn't even appeal that ruling at the time. This wasn't about public safety. It was about power, about an administration signaling that it can ignore courts, smear individuals without evidence, and outsource constitutional violations to foreign prisons while pretending it's all lawful. Van Hollen cut through the noise when he said it plainly. He wasn't vouching for the man. He was vouching for due process. Because if the government can disappear one person in defiance of the courts, it can do it to anyone.